This is where we look at this series only. This is not anything previous to this, nothing about the group stages, only the quarterfinal matchups. Here are the ratings that we give to the players. And as we take a look at Tyler's ratings for top esports, I would like to ask this question as you go down the list and adjudicate the numbers you've given. Is there any concern from what happened this series? Is there more, oh wow, TES can bleed, or are you more impressed with the fact that they bounced back?
I am more impressed that they bounced back, because even if they came back through Jackie Love or 369 or Knight, I would have still been very scared of them in a potential final versus Damwon or G2, or even their semifinal versus Suning, where I don't know if I could really respect Karsa in this meta. He's a brilliant player. He's one of the most experienced players in all of League of Legends at this stage. He's been to numerous world champions, numerous MSIs. He's been through it all. He's an intelligent player as they come. One of the highest game IQs we see in League of Legends. But I didn't know if he had that bite to him, that killer instinct, Arda, that I've always liked to bring up. I talked about that with Bjergsen. I want that killer instinct of Bjergsen. We did not see that killer instinct of Bjergsen. Today, game 4, with the game on the line, with the series on the line, with their their legacies on the line. If they go home to back, or stay in Shanghai, they're not going home on a plane. But if they leave that arena, they're going to go on Weibo, and their legacies are going to get tarnished, losing to Fnatic, this super team of top. They were supposed to go to the finals, bar none. They were supposed to lift the Summoners Cup, and they put it all on Karsa to carry on the Nidalee, to make an influence early on that Nidalee. And he went God mode, as Ender pointed out in the cast. He went full God mode. And I am more excited about them because Jackie Love had a terrible day. You're not going to see Jackie Love have these kind of days more often than not. He came alive by the end of the series, but I do think this was an off day for Jackie Love. For the most part, in the group stages, you could very much say that Jackie Love was the MVP of the group stages. He was all dominant on the center. He looked like just on another level of every AD carry at the tournament. He slipped up a lot today, but they survived. And that's kind of the scary thing about TES, is that even if you lock down Jackie Love and he has a terrible day, you have to worry about Knight. You have to worry about Karsa. You have to worry about 369. And the bottom line, as you see, I gave them 6 and 5s respectfully, but there's a team that if you lock down one lane, there's 2 other lanes with a great jungler in Karsa, a very intelligent jungler in Karsa, someone who doesn't tilt, as we saw today, that he can always get those 2 lanes rolling. So even when Jackie Love in the bottom lane had a bad day, 369 and Knight had great ends to the day. And I think 369 for me was my personal MVP of the series throughout. Just an amazing performance by him. The third player, the third head of the beast of top esports, where Jackie Love and Knight get the praise more than often than not, and they deserve it. I think they are a bit a level above 369. But if he continues with these performances at the world stage, you would have to say he's right up there with those 2 players, and he could, in his own right, be a top 5 player in the world. So I think his solo kill on Whippo turned the series and turned the ties, and his Scion really turned the momentum onto top side. So he's my MVP of the day. Just excellent play.
Yeah, it's crazy to think. It's almost like a tale of 2 series, right? Like games
definitely.
1 and 2 versus games 3, 4, and 5, and the ratings would be so much different if we separated them. But we can't, because it's the same series. And so Yuyanja setting a record for most deaths in 15 minutes in one game. And then meanwhile, game 4, Karsa just going super Cyan and going 10-1 and 7 on Nidalee was incredible. So that definitely contributes to the numbers. How about for Fnatic? Again, this is a tale of 2 series, so including the reverse sweep portion of it, but also factoring in the first 2 games, how do you adjudicate those players?
So I gave Whippo a 6, Selfmade an 8, Nemesis a 5, Reckless an 8, and Hilly Song an 8. For Selfmade and Reckless and Hilly, those were the 3 players that really got them those first 2 victories. Those were the winning points, the win conditions. Reckless kind of setting it up early, basically saying, I am not going to let Jackie Love make a fool of me again, and just taking those solo kills in the first game really set up Fnatic for success and kind of carried them those first 2 games. Selfmade ran over. I said it on Twitter, he bulldozed Karsa, and he made Karsa look like, he looked like a fossil, like a player that was washed up in those first 2 games. And if they closed out 3-0, Karsa would have left the World Championships with a far disappointing tournament, and he would be remembered for this kind of this stark loss, especially after last year in 2019 when RNG, a team he was also on, failed to make it out of the group stages, losing to Fnatic and Reckless. So the fact that Carson could turn around is great for him, but I still give a lot of kudos to Reckless, Hilly, and Selfmade. I think they had excellent series overall. Even in loss, I would have to give them 8. All three of them 8s. I can't give them a 9 just because those last 3 games were lacking. Selfmade's Kha'Zix. I said on Twitter, this felt like a disrespectful where he's like, I'm going to dunk on you, Karsa. You are done. You pick Lee Sin. I'm going to pick Ka. I'm going to straight up out kill you in the jungle. I'm going to out batter you in the jungle. And it didn't happen, but I still give them 8s. Bwipo a 6, not the best day. Wide Bwipo happy, wide Bwipo sad. And then for Nemesis, we're going to talk about Nemesis more later and kind of the situation of Fnatic is going into in 2021. Should they make changes? I think Nemesis overall had a very strong group stages, but I think his champion pool got zeroed in a lot in the last 3 games, and he wasn't able to really keep up with Knight. And, Knight was our number 1 player coming into Worlds. There's no embarrassment losing to Knight, but Nemesis just wasn't able to keep up with one of the best players in the world. And it's a situation where this was a meta where I felt it really enabled Fnatic, and it was not a meta where it was hard carry mids. This is a hard carry jungle meta where mids can play more, utility and play more about, tipping over the lanes of TF and Galio. And you don't necessarily need to be the carry. Just play Orianna, farm up, hit your ultimates, use the ball to protect the carries that you need. And I think even overall, Nemesis wasn't up to the goal today. And I think him and Bwipo, the solo lanes of Fnatic, were the tipping points that weren't able to get them over the line. If one of those 2 players have a big game in 3, 4, or 5, I think Bwipo was close on the gameplay to maybe getting to that point, but by then the game was already tipping to TS's side. So those 2 solo laners, I think, had decent days, but not good enough to be one of the best teams in the world, and maybe one of the best teams of all time mechanical-wise.
Mm-hmm. So TES move on to the semifinals. They will be facing Suning next week. And of course, we have one more quarterfinal spot or semifinal spot, I should say, to determine one more quarterfinal matchup. That is between Gen G and G2. That is happening tomorrow. And